Alright everyone, we have to talk about the death of the box store. As you've seen with the news from like Radio Shack, Sears, Kmart, do they even still exist? I'm not sure. It's sort of beginning to look a little bit like the death of Ames years ago. There was a store called Ames. It was one of these box stores, very similar to Sears, and they sort of went under, and they tried to restructure. They jettisoned some stores, they tried to streamline things, and it worked for a little while, and then it happened again. They went, bankrupt, belly up, and then they cut more stores, and then they stopped existing altogether. This is what's going to happen more and more frequently in the modern economy, because big box stores, they're just inefficient. It doesn't make sense. The original sort of strength of a box store, of the sort of Sears or something like that, is that you have a wide variety of basic goods arranged in a rather logical pattern, and people can go and they can choose what they want. So you have your clothing section, you have the food section, so snacks and shit, you have the beer section, of course, and then you have the toys, the electronics, and so forth, and you sort of arrange them all together. The problem is that the rise of online sales makes that completely vestigial. The basic idea of a box store, as opposed to a higher end, like a luxury brand, they can maintain their brick and mortar stores easily. Restaurants, obviously, getting food service, that makes sense to have in brick and mortar form. A bookstore, something like that. Something that would be more like the downtown district as opposed to a box store on some urban sprawl looking hideous strip. And actually, I will say this, other than here in Rutland, funnily enough, if you go to most of the smaller communities within Vermont, as opposed to small-ish communities elsewhere, you don't see the kind of urban sprawl here in northern New England that you see in most of the rest of the country. I was actually surprised going to Texas or going to Florida, seeing the extent to which you have that kind of box store sprawl. It's massive compared to what we have here in communities of similar size. Therefore, I would go to like the Weslaco Harlingen area in southern Texas. There are stores lining the entire road between them, with no actual break between these different communities. It is one long, miles-long strip of nothing but box stores for the most part. Box stores, and where it's in the communities themselves, you have some of the more downtown sort of looking stuff. But it's still mostly box stores. There's still some gas stations and shit in with them there too. But if you go to a place like Burlington up in Vermont, which is an area of comparable population size to those communities, sort of between McAllen and Harlingen, or the Harlingen community at large, perhaps. If you look at the setup, you have a much larger downtown, a developed, more compact area, and you don't have the box store strips. You do have some of these strip malls and things like that, although a couple of them went under as well. And that's another point that we need to bring up when we're talking about the death of the box store, is also the death of the U.S. shopping mall outside of these compact communities where they're still convenient. It's like our mall here in Rutland. Our mall is a joke. The Diamond Run Mall, I can remember back when, 10 years ago, there would be maybe one or two empty business fronts at any given time. Usually they didn't last long before they were filled up by something else. Now more than half of the storefronts there are empty. There is nobody that goes to the mall. Last Christmas, you think of Christmas like mall shopping. Nobody was there. Nobody fucking cared. I've stopped going to the mall altogether because there's nothing there to actually go to. The last few stores that I had any interest in are gone. There's nothing in the food court. I think that there's like a snack vendor. And that's basically all you have there. And then on one side, I think there's still a Kmart, which is really surprising that one's surviving. And that's the only thing keeping them all going. As soon as that gets closed, which I imagine will happen in the next year or two, Kmart will go under and that mall will no longer have any use. They've gotten to the point where they've got like the Troubled Youth Center is now in the mall. There's a church in the mall. Of course, Castleton State University has an arena built into the mall. Other than that, though, nothing else could really survive. There's not enough there to draw people, because the box store approach of urban sprawl only makes sense for people who are willing to commute to go, shopping. They go out once a week or something. But unless it's like a dedicated grocery store where they're getting their food, or a luxury store, or something very low end, you'd think of Walmart or maybe like the Salvation Army or something like that. People buy things online. All those mid-end goods that used to need to be in one area, in diverse little clusters for people to go down the aisles with their fucking shopping cart, that approach is no longer going to work. All these other box stores are at the same hazard. Even Walmart is vulnerable now. Target's certainly vulnerable. And they should be. It's an ineffective model. It wastes gasoline. It takes a lot longer to do what you're doing. It's less efficient, therefore less cost efficient. And it's just not as fun. There's such a wide variety of stuff. If you go to eBay, if you go to Amazon, any of these online sites, it's like, why would you want to go to the store when you can have it delivered by the same commercial group anyway? If you go to Walmart's website, you find something you want. Are you going to go to the store, or are you going to have it ordered and in place before you get it, number one, or delivered to you, number two, if possible? Probably the latter. The commercial model of the legacy commerce of the country no longer works. It's like when I drive through Rutland, all the urban sprawl we have here is slowly dying. Other than the automotives end, people here really love their cars. The automotive end and the restaurants, they're fine. Everything else, for the most part, is very, very vulnerable. The downtown recovered a lot more than our shopping mall did. That's because of the transformation of U.S. commerce by the internet. I don't need, if I want electronics, I don't need to go to Radio Shack and get it online. Especially, I use eBay, generally speaking. I don't really use Amazon for purchases because they don't allow PayPal. Otherwise, I would consider using them too. I use eBay primarily. There's all sorts of cool, weird shit on there. eBay is great. You can find that, you can just search junk drawer lot on eBay and you see what I'm talking about. You can find all sorts of weird stuff there. If you intend to, you can potentially flip some of these lots for profit. I've gone to yard sales and sold stuff on eBay. Sometimes you get 20, 30 times what you paid for it. It's actually mesmerizing. You can get all sorts of weird. You can get you can get stuff from the Roman Empire on eBay. Why the hell would I want to go to Walmart? Why the heck would I need to? Even for food now, some of the like the snack foods and stuff, like beef jerky or a box of crackers, you can get that online too. There's no need to go to a store for that. Like bulk groceries, if you're like shopping for the week, you're probably still going to a brick and mortar store. If you're buying a car, you probably want to see it in person. Is the lower chance you're buying it online, unless it's a really, really good site that you're using. But for everything else, for the topical electronics, it's like, does anybody still go to like Staples or Best Buy? I would say, oh, I want to buy a computer. No, you get it made online. You can go to any of the manufacturer websites, like getting the new laptop that now has been shipped and will be here in a few days. I just went to Dell's site. I don't need to go to any store. I'm not going to go down to Staples and waste half an hour looking at their in-store models that I can't even get customized, only to end up paying more because it happens to be from the actual store and there's no online discount. They're trying actively to get people to order things online because it's so much more efficient. It saves you money, which means potentially that savings you're spending on some peripheral item anyway, so they can clear out more stock. It's actually quite nice for the consumer. They're making more money too. It's a lot more efficient for them than letting it sit in a store where it may or may not get bought for years at a fucking time. Instead, they have their online stock. It can sit there forever. It doesn't even matter. It's easy. It's a lot more cost effective. It's more centralized in storage form, and it's more decentralized as far as the diversity of communities that can purchase from them. Like with a box store. Let's say that I run a chain of department stores. Just general goods. We sell the clothing and the food and everything else under the sun. We have an electronics section, we have toys for your kids, we have a little automotive area you can buy, the wrench and squeegees and weird shit like that. Let's say I have a bunch of department stores. Am I getting any money from people outside of the community that I happen to be serving? No. But if I have a website where I've got the same things for sale, I can potentially use some sort of shipping service. I can send that to anyone in the country. And they'll be willing to pay for it because they don't have to commute to the fucking store just to see what I've got in stock. It's a lot easier on me, it's more cost effective, and I can save the consumer money, which means I can sell them more goods. Better reputation, more efficient. It's great. The internet's wonderful. So the internet right now is actively upending U.S. commerce, and Western commerce in general. It's upending legacy politics. It's destroying the legacy media. Long live the fucking internet. It's great to be here. It's like people, because there's such a severe compartmental nature between like TV, radio, and the internet. Put your bets on the internet for the next decade. Trust me. These TV shows and stuff, they may have high viewership now. They may have all the money now. They're not going to in 10 years. Just trust me on that one. Hedge your bets on the internet. If you're looking for somewhere to invest your time or your resources, do it online. Don't do it in brick and mortar form unless you get something that's more or less immune to the internet revolution. You know, luxury goods, you know, the handmade tailored suits or something. There's a low chance you're buying that online. Automotive, something like that, or food. You know, you're preparing people food. It's like we wouldn't set up a restaurant in Kansas and be able to ship that food, you know, reasonably prepared, hot and ready right then and there on demand to people that are 1,000 miles away. A little bit more difficult there. But I'm glad for the death of box stores. Having better downtowns would be nice. They're more scenic. They're more attractive. They're more compact than all that wasteful land use. I don't know, build parks, zone it residential or something like that. Put up some condos or something like that. Something that's better than box stores. Big and inefficient and clunky relics of the 1990s. That's about all. Peace out.